Hello, my name is Xavier Api, and in this video I'm going to talk about Amsterdam. Today in this video we are going to talk about Amsterdam. As we know, Amsterdam is one of the most famous cities in Europe, and it is a city well known for its nightlife and lifestyle. But in this video we are going to talk solely about one of its most famous squares and how it has changed during the past years. Today we are talking about Rembrantplein, which is located near the center of Amsterdam. Rembrandtplein, or in English Rembrandt Square, is a mere square in central Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, named after Rembrandt van Rijn, who owned the house until 1656. The square is bordered on the east by Utrechtstraat, Reguliersbergstraat on the south, Reguliersbergstraat on the north, and Halvenmansburg on the west. The largest building on the square was designed in 1926, which was named the Bank. The square has its origins in the defensive wall constructed in the Middle Ages to protect the city. The site of Rembrandt Square held a regular sport or gateway into the city. By 1655, the city had expanded beyond this area, and it began to attract visiting farmers who brought their butter, dairy, and poultry product to sell in the city, and it became known as Buttermarkt or Butter Market in English. By 1668, a regular sport housed a weight house. A weight house or weighing house is a public building at or within which goods are weighed. Most of these buildings were built before the 1800s, prior to the establishment of the international standards for weight. As public control of the weight of goods was very important, they were run by local authorities, who would also use them for the levying of taxes on goods transported through or sold within the city. Therefore, weight houses would often be near a market square or a town center. By the early 20th century, the square developed into a center for nightlife, drawing artists and young people. To serve these visitors, several hotels, cafes, and entertainment venues opened in the streets. The area continued to be popular with residents and tourists. As we can see in the charts, mostly there were people from the Netherlands, then from Turkey, Morocco, Suriname, and even Chinese. The square originally was named after a famous Dutch painter which was called Rembrandt van Rijn, which was born on July 15, 1606 and died on October 4, 1669. He was a Dutch painter, etcher and draughtsman. He is generally regarded as one of the greatest painters and etchers in European art, and one of the most important Dutch masters of the 17th century. Rembrandt produced a total of about 300 paintings, 300 etchings, and 2,000 drawings. As part of the celebration of the artist's 400th birthday in 2006, a bronze cast representation of his most famous paintings was displayed, which is called the Night Watch. As we can see in this old footage, which dates back to 1926, is when the square was officially opened. It was officially opened and it was an attraction for tourists, artists, concerts, and even Dutch singers. During these years, the square was not fully built and was not as much populated as it is today. There were just a few cafes and just a few entertainment areas. At this old footage from 1972, we can notice that the square started to gain its full attention as an entertainment area. We can notice a lot of cars and people in the area. A lot of cafes were built and a lot of Dutch concerts were being held from famous Dutch singers. There were about 400 inhabitants which lived in the area, and there were mostly commerce and foreigners. It held a total of 302 homes, and it started the new era of building, which a lot of new buildings were built between 1980 until 1990. Most of the addresses were used for living purposes and meeting purposes and entertainment. Most of the residents varied from the age of 25 to 45 years old, and also the crime rate was started to get very low. Everything was functional around the squares, as tram stations, cars, bicycle roads, cafes, nightclubs, pubs, and everything. The square was fully usable. Another distinguishable building we can notice in the Rembrandt Square is the bank. The building on Rembrandt Square in the center of Amsterdam was originally home to the Amsterdam Bank. Today it is known as the Bank. It stands as one of the Amsterdam's most prestigious locations, and this imposing monument building is more alive than ever thanks to a high-value combination of hospitality, retail and office use. Nowadays, in modern times, we can find many famous companies as Booking.com, Gorillas Games, George Deli, Shabu Shabu, Starbucks, Vapiano and Wagamama. The building is richly decorated with exquisite granite sculptures, as well as a variety of copper and bronze ornaments, including lamps and leather boxes. Surprisingly, many of these have been preserved, despite the fact that the building was drastically altered and enlarged in the 70s by architects Svier and Fontaine. At the time, the glass roof and the light covered were closed. Nowadays, many of the most popular Amsterdam clubs can be found in and around the Rembrandt Square. The square itself plays host to a number, while the surrounding streets are also packed with places to visit. Around the borders of the square can be found the chic and classy Club Rain and Escape, both of which are great choices to dance the night away and show off your latest designer fashions. More casual clubbers might find Studio 80 and its dedicated genre music nights of interest, while the cheap and cheerful club Smoky across the square plays the hits. Those looking for Amsterdam gay clubs will find the nearby Reguliersdwarsstraat the place to be, while Amstel, on the other side of the square, plays host to an ever-diminishing number of gay clubs and cafes. This trend, which we are talking, started on the 70s and 80s, where the nightlife started to rise. Nowadays, the square has many well-known pubs and clubs. Also during the day, the square is very busy with cafes. It mainly consists of tourists but also the locals. The square is also directly affected by Rembrantplein, where a lot of restaurants are located, and Thorbeckenplein, where a lot of student clubs are located and found. Another interesting fact about the Rembrandt Square is that today the biggest video screen in Europe has been opened on Rembrandt Square. Passers-by can interact with the screen with a Bluetooth-enabled mobile phone. The screen is 6.7 by 15 meters and it will show movie and video clips. At first, movie clips about art, culture and charities will be shown. Later on, commercials will be added. The police and fire brigade can break in any time with important emergency messages. Passers-by can upload and download movies from the screen with a mobile phone. If you have a Bluetooth-enabled cell phone, you can interact with the screen. The city authorities are not happy with the screen. They think it is too big and too ugly for the inner city of Amsterdam. But because of mistakes made with the licensing, the city could not stop the screen anymore. For example, many screens in Let's-Plein were removed. Now I will show you some footages done this month, where now we can see the bank, which we talked about earlier, and we can find many modern companies like Albertine, Booking and more. Here we can see the new hotels built in Rembrandt Square and the cafe clubs which were previously talked in the video. You can see there the trams are also functioning. There are a lot of people around. There are a lot more new cooler cars than in the previous video. Also, here is the big LED screen below with the most famous club in Amsterdam, which is called the Escape. Now we can totally see that the square has evolved in the most famous square in Amsterdam and the best place for entertainment and nightlife. This was my video for the Rembrandt Square and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.